Every single thing we said we would do, would do. And the question that you will ask next is Nigeria Air. On Friday, in 2 days, the Nigeria airplane will land in Nigeria, part of the processes to commence the operation. We will, on that day, unveil this aircraft with delivery and everything in Nigeria's colors, belong to Nigeria Air, and we will proceed to go and do the retrofit and bring back those airplanes. So we have achieved 100% of the roadmap. The only one item that is missing on my table is the Aerotropolis. Even that, the groundwork has been done. All the airports now, the 4 of them, are free zones. They are free zones to allow you to come in there and take advantage of what a free zone is. And that, of course, will enhance and boost the Aerotropolis, which is the airport city. Abuja is sitting now on 12,000 hectares of land, courtesy of Mr. President. And that is where you would see this huge Aerotropolis. And finally, the Lagos, the FAN building, where is housing the Lagos office of FAN, which we wanted to demolish, is to give way for Aerotropolis Airport City, where you'll see shopping malls, offices, hotels, and the rest of it, and car parks. That will happen. That I didn't do. I won't be achieved during my time, but it's there on the plan.
All right, so there you have it. That's the Minister of Aviation talking about Nigeria Air, which he said was going to be in the country today. Some reports that there may be 2 of those crafts in the country today, flying in from Ethiopia, but we tried to get across to him to shed a lot more light. Still working on that because it's not here as of yet. But we also did catch up with the Senate Committee on Aviation. The deputy chairman of that committee, Senator Ibn Ala, did speak as well on this matter. Apparently, they've been on this matter going back and forth with the ministry and the minister. So here are some of what he said.
Wait tomorrow and see, and then maybe congratulate him for beating the deadline based on the promise he has made to Nigerians that the airline will take up before the handover date, which is Monday. The only concern is that if the aircraft arrives tomorrow, will it start flying tomorrow, or is it going to start flying on Monday? Or that's what the details of what we don't know. But I do know that the last phase of the AOC may entail what we call demonstration flight. So maybe if the airline will be doing Port Harcourt, Lagos, and then some NCA people have to be on board to be able to establish the safety and then the standard operating procedure for the airline so that they can accept it for the full commencement of the flight. We have been reading in social media and in the papers that there is an issue with this airline in court. Whether that has been resolved or not, I don't know honestly. And I keep on hoping that it has been resolved. We've equally been reading, again, social media, you know what it is, that some people are complaining that the procedure for the issuance of the AOC has not been fully met or whatever, and we've been reading all those, and I'm hoping that all those issues will have been sorted out before now. At times, it's very difficult for you to speak when you are in government, because it means either I will be blowing our trumpet or whatever I say may not carry some weight. But the real practitioners in the aviation industry will tell you whether the government is leaving the aviation industry in a better state or not. From my own understanding, from what I have seen, to be fair to the minister, he has done his best within the limit of what he knows what to do. But of course, you know, there may be some concerns, you know, here and there. And those concerns will remain valid for those who have expressed them because they have reason for doing so. You see, I am somebody who wants to talk from the position of knowledge. Everything that is going on with the Nigerian Air is left in the ministry. The ministry has held everything to its chest. So we don't know, you know, what they have So it's very difficult to give an opinion over what you do not have full knowledge of. Will I have any thought on a process that was started and completed and it has been given to the public that is the bid? I did not take part in the bid process. I know very little about the bid process, so it will be wrong for me, to give an opinion or thought over it. So I would rather position myself in the same position you are, to be comforted with what we are reading on the pages of newspaper and of course some part of social media. One of the interactions we had with the minister, with some stakeholders in the industry, he made mention of the fact that when the bid process was to commence, all the stakeholders were told and invited, So if they had wanted to participate in the bidding, they were encouraged to do so. But that none of them participated, based on what the minister said, and they were all there. Then their only reply was that the process leading to the bidding was not too clear to them. That's their own contention. And therefore, they could not have participated on what they know very little about. And I think that was the reason why they went to court. The Airline Association of Nigeria, I think, went to court. That's why I say I'm hoping that all those issues have been resolved, by now, so that tomorrow we welcome the aircraft that is coming, and then maybe possibly the Civil Aviation Authority, in view of the exigencies of the establishment of the airline, may put some waivers that may not necessarily affect, the safe operation of the airline. But I know that that issue of demonstration flight is a fundamental issue in the AOC process, that I know. Whether that will be waived and how that will affect, because you see, every airline has what they call standard operating procedure. When you say you want to fly from Abuja to Port Harcourt, the NCA will want to be on board. They will have a checklist to see whether you are following your standard operating procedure that guarantees the safe operation of that aircraft. Once the checklist is completed and they are satisfied that you are following the procedure, of course they will put you through some issues. Maybe midway they will tell you that let's assume there is problem. What do you do? And they are following your standard operating procedure to see whether the pilots and the crew are really knowledgeable and well trained on the standard operating procedure. And then after that, they will now give you the go-ahead to commence operation. With the aircraft arriving tomorrow, with us having only Saturday and Sunday, I don't know the magic, but I believe somewhere, somehow, that has been taken care of. That's what I will believe. One thing is certain. Whether it's Buhari's government, whether it's the senator-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu's government that is taking the country, we require, at this moment of our history, a national carrier. Nigeria is too big a country not to afford a national carrier. And the reason being that we are probably one of the most traveled, even though that is questionable, because when they say one of the most traveled, we are over 200 million. So if you have that volume, you believe that you are one of the most traveled. But if you go to a smaller country that has like 10, 15 million, 20 million people, fewer people will be traveling. So that doesn't make us, aggregately, as the most traveling country in sub-Saharan Africa. Every Nigerian has a responsibility to offer assistance to whichever government is in power to be able to actualize the dream of having a formidable national carrier, that will stand the test of time.
Well, that was Senator Bala Naala, Deputy Chairman, Senate Committee on Aviation. So in case you didn't see his caption there. Well, now we're joined by, I'm getting some distractions here. Well, now we're joined by Captain Ado Sanusi, Managing Director and CEO of Aero Contractors, who joins us virtually. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Okay, so have a listen to Senator and then the minister. Well, you are in the sector, a major player in that particular sector. So many are wondering, those on the outside, what really is going on with this Nigeria stakeholders' perspective, so many unanswered questions. So the minister says about those one or two of those aircraft will be in the country today, and there are questions about the SOP. So what, from your perspective, do you think is going on here?
Well, it's one thing to bring the airplanes to the country, and it's another thing to start the airline, getting all the necessary approvals from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. As Senator Nala said, there is a very important and vital component of getting an AOC, which is the demonstration flights. Of course, there are waivers that the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has the powers to give. But the demonstration flight is critical to safety operations, and I do not think he will give that clearance or that waiver. So it is practically impossible for the airline to take off in the next 2 days. It is not possible because they have to do the demonstration flight. The 5 phases must be completed. International community is looking at us to see whether we are actually following what the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, has stipulated in their recommended practices and laid down procedures for carriage of passengers, commercial carriage of passengers internationally. So I don't think, and knowing the Director General who has worked in ICAO before, will not flout those rules. So it's one thing to bring the airplanes, and it's another thing to start commercial operations.
So could you tell us then, I mean, pardon me, what is it that we're missing here? Because, I mean, he's someone who is in that sector and professional, and then all of you in the sector too, do you know what to expect and what is expected of the SOP? So Nigerians are just wondering, what is it that is happening that we don't seem to understand? Because if those airlines are coming in, they don't fulfill the 5 phases, then nothing can happen. So, and then it's coming at this particular point in time. So it just appears so many loose ends here. How could this be going on like this?
I totally agree with you. There are so many loose ends, and I totally agree with Nigerians that are concerned about why the outgoing administration had 8 years to actualize the dream of many Nigerians. First, we have to understand one thing. Do we need a national carrier? Any patriotic Nigerian will say yes. We need a very formidable national carrier. Do we need a fast train from Lagos to Maiduguri? Any patriotic Nigerian will say, yes, we do need that. Do we need security? Yes, we need that. But can we afford what we need? That's the thing. If we want a formidable national carrier, and we have to also define what a national carrier is. That means the government must have a stake in it. The government must really have a share in it. Or do we need a flag carrier? A flag carrier, the government does not need to have a stake in it, a share in it, but they can look at the operators and see those that have the capacity and designate them as flag carriers and support them internationally, locally, to ensure that they grow. So what do we need as a nation? If we have the resources, then of course we will look at the national carrier. But again, I've been in this industry for decades. Since 2016 and 17, the federal government of Nigeria had stake in the aviation industry in 3 airlines through AMCON. Arik Air was taken over by AMCON, by extension, the federal government, so they have a stake in that. Aero Contractors was taken over by AMCON, by extension, the federal government of Nigeria. So they have majority shares in it. Another airline was created called NG Eagle, which was solely owned by AMCON, by extension, the federal government of Nigeria. So why would we also, the federal government of Nigeria, go again and create another airline, making the fourth, and have 5% stake in it? I think even the Ethiopians that are investing in this 5% would think what kind of people we are. We have 3 airlines that the federal government, by AMCON, and by extension, the federal government, have stakes in them. But we went again to create another airline that the federal government had 5% in it. We have done that. So of course, the stakeholders are a bit wary of all this, and that is why you can see the agitation and the court cases and everything. But coming back, it is important to understand that a national carrier, if we have the resources, yes, we will need it. If we don't have the resources, then we should look at what we have. The 3 airlines that is on, or now the 2 that the federal government of Nigeria has a stake in it, can it be used to kickstart the national carrier? And use, because most of them are, the question we receive, the answers that they say they can't use the 2 airlines to kickstart the national carrier is that these airlines are, they have a lot of debts in them. But the majority of the secured creditors is government. So why don't you do an equity swap? So loan equity swap and create an airline. And these airlines, the 2 airlines, are owned by Nigerians. They're not owned by outsiders. So we can call them and have a discussion and see whether we can forge the way forward and create something from that.
Is this why? Yeah, is this why the airline operators of Nigeria have gone to court to stop the minister from bringing in these aircrafts?
I believe it's one of the reasons. And I believe also, whatever you do as a businessman, when you hear that the government is coming into it, you have some apprehension that, the federal government is coming to sell my tomatoes that I'm selling. So definitely you feel a little bit threatened. But when you start seeing undue advantages given to that particular entity, then you have to protect your investment by going to court. If there's no fair level playing, if there's no fair playing level ground, you have to protect your investment. And I believe also that they also went to court because the alleged concession that is given to the technical partners is too much. That is what they are claiming, is too much. And the technical partners want to put them out of business. Those are the allegations they are making. And if those allegations are true, of course, they are going to throw a lot of Nigerians out of job.
But,
and also keep Nigerian businesses.
We've also always spoken about this, about the BASA agreements that we have with a number of countries. One would have thought that, in the aviation sky, it's big enough for all the birds to fly without, colliding against one another. Looking at all the agreements that Nigeria has with a number of countries and how many countries we fly to, locally, not a lot of the local airlines we have fly to a lot of countries. So why do you think they feel so threatened?
Well, you see, if you do not grow your own, when will you grow and make sure that those local airlines have the capacity to fly? If you always keep saying that, let us go and get outsiders to come and do the job, when will your if the outgoing administration didn't ban importation of rice, do you think the rice farmers would have gone and started farming rice? They would have still been importing it. So if we still keep the local airlines, or they don't have capacity, or they cannot do this, all these airlines that you've seen, Lufthansa, KLM, British Airways, they started from somewhere. So I believe that if you encourage your own, and there is nothing wrong encouraging your own, if you encourage your own to grow, no matter how bad it is, to grow and get to that level, then you can now say, well, they can compete internationally. But when you are always looking for international airlines to come and fly your BASA, Of course. You will never have a local carrier that will have the capacity to compete. And of course, you have to understand that all the countries are eyeing our market. So they will do everything to ensure that our market doesn't grow.
What would you say was the biggest grouse of airline operators in the partnership that the federal government was trying to build with Ethiopian Air?
I think their biggest grouse is that Ethiopian Airlines have been given a lot of concessions, and they have been given tax. They were going to be given tax waivers, and also they feel that they allege that the Ethiopian Airlines intend to do predatory pricing, which is very, very bad in the industry. Predatory pricing means they will come and crash the price down. It's good for the consumer in the beginning, but then it will put a lot of airlines out of business because they have the capacity. Most of the local airlines don't have that capacity. And when they crash the price down, then most of the airlines will go out of business. They'll bring their own aircraft. That is what they alleged. They will bring their own more aircraft, and then they will go back to the pricing that they want. And then, of course, the tenure of the concessions was too long. I think 15 for tax break, 15 years for tax breaks. That's what the AON is touting was in the agreement. I have not seen the agreement. And those are the things that I believe the outgoing administration should have done. They should have carried along the stakeholders to understand that this is good for the aviation industry. Yes, as Senator Balana Allah said, that there have been stakeholders meetings. Yes, there have been stakeholders meetings. I have attended a few of them where the consultant just gives us a PowerPoint presentation, but it's beyond PowerPoint presentation. For goodness sake, we're talking about the national carrier.
Okay.
I think they should have been a big, like selling the national carrier to the stakeholders to understand that it is very transparent.
Well, Captain Sanusi, as we speak, we understand that, our team, they tell us Nigeria Air is on ground now. So
yes, I can see, I was sent the video of Nigeria Air is on ground, and it's a congratulations to the minister. He has brought in the airplane, which is a plus to the outgoing minister. But I think whatever you build, whatever company you build that is not on solid ground will not stand time. I pray that the incoming administration will solidify what was not solidified in the past, in the outgoing administration, to ensure that this Nigeria Air will not be like other companies that federal government try to start operating for national carrier. I think it's a good thing that he brought the airplane, but I believe it is not only a show. I believe that we should look at it and make sure that the company is have started on a solid ground. As so of what we are seeing.
Yes, pardon me for butting it. So since you manage an airline, we'll go to break now, but when we return, you tell us how do we move forward, just as you mentioned in passing, so that we have a solid ground. We will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Well, it's arguably one of the biggest stories now. You may have seen images of that Nigeria Air bird, or plane, as we all call it. And we've been speaking with the Captain Ado Sanusi, who is a managing director and CEO Aero Contractors, about the situation. Because for a lot of Nigerians, they see the Air Nigeria bird, images which, of course, we've been showing, and there's that sense of excitement, the fact that you can see, yes, we've had very interesting pasts when it comes to national carriers, but when they see Nigeria Air on an aircraft, that's that sense of joy, patriotism, and all. But clearly, AON is not happy with that. But I'd like you to speak to this point, because in that image, you see, I think I see an Air Peace carrier. I think this is in Ethiopia, actually, because there's another Ethiopian airline bird just behind it, and then there's an Air Peace carrier there. And some are saying, well, so this is the Ethiopian Air that also does some work for Nigerian carriers, if they're coming on board to do business here, shouldn't it be the more the merrier, have some sort of competition and give people different options? I mean, that's all we always ask for, some sort of, foreign investment and, open up Nigeria. So how do you balance that? Because a lot of people are thinking, are you trying to stop the good work, which a lot of Nigerians are excited about?
Well, I don't think people want to stop what the good work on. I don't think people are totally against AON is totally, I'm not talking for AON though, but I don't think the industry is against having a national carrier or having Nigeria Air. No, not at all. As you said, the more the merrier. And the same operating conditions that we are faced with as somebody who is running an airline, Nigeria will also face those kind of conditions. What we are saying is that we must build a company on a solid ground so that it can be sustainable. What are the ingredients of a solid ground? The base must be transparent. People must trust the system. And if that is done, then it will be very interesting because, of course, if we have so many airlines operating in the country, we'll bring competition, and healthy competition usually brings a very strong industry. Industry that is monopoly, of course, doesn't have, we can't get a healthy industry that has a monopoly. So it's good to have it. But again, we have to be cautious of whether it is built on a solid ground. And that is our problem. And that is my problem. What I see is that there are so many buts and ifs in the whole process. And I believe the incoming administration should look at this venture and ensure that Nigeria is not shortchanged. That's the most important. And also protect the local carriers from predatory pricing that was alleged Ethiopian Airlines, the technical partners of Nigeria Air, would do to kick out people out of business. You have to understand, as I said, that there is nothing wrong protecting your own. Even if even government wants to enter into aviation, you must protect the existing carriers.
Absolutely.
So,
but Captain, pardon me. So when you say predatory prices, that essentially means that they might crash the price, so it'll be lower than what people are paying now for local flights. Is that what you mean?
Yes. So what it means is that you crash the prices just for a short time because you have waivers, taxes, waivers. You are not going to pay probably the civil aviation authorities 5%, the income taxes, and some other charges you've been waived. So you can't afford as an airline to crash the prices down. And of course, it's good for the passengers. So the passengers will come to you. And of course, the other carriers will have very few passengers and eventually run out of business.
And that's what the passengers want anyway. They want to pay less. But I'd like you to just clarify what to expect, because expectations are high. So we've seen a plane branded Nigeria Air. As things stand today, you said that it doesn't look like it will operate at least before May 29th. So what is the duration it will take normally to get Nigerians to be able to pay for tickets and at least jump on the bird? If all of these issues are sorted out, what is the minimum duration? So we, manage expectations here, because people are seeing that plane and they're thinking, okay, let me go online now and book a flight.
Okay, if everything is done professionally, they're supposed to do a 50-hour demonstration flight with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority's inspectors on board. They're supposed to do emergency evacuation drills with the aircrafts. And that is the last phase of the process. It's a 5-phase process. This process of 50 hours, if they are going to fly within Nigeria, if they intend to fly outside Nigeria, they have to go to almost all the stations they are going. This process can easily take 60 days. But if they are going to be given a waiver, now my argument with waivers is, if you have experience, if there is an experience before, you show that yes, we have run an airline, or the people that are with us have run the airline in Nigeria, and the post holders are very, very conversant with the rules and regulations in the country, with the air laws and everything. The pilots are very conversant with the airports. Then you can now reduce the hours they're supposed to fly. Instead of the 50, you can give them 30, 25 hours to fly around empty before they start commercial flights. Even that, it will take at least 30 days to finish. And I believe all the airlines in this country, after the 2013, that they started these demo flights. After that, must do the demo flights. ARIC started the demo flights, and they did the demo flights. They did 50 hours. I remember when I was the deputy MD of ARIC, we did all the demo flights, even outside the country. We flew the A340 that time to places to show that we can operate into UK, into the United States, and the rest. So if Nigeria Air is going to operate those places, then they must do the demo flights. Now, if their technical partners are experienced enough, then you can reduce their hours to 30 hours, but you cannot waive it completely. It is totally unprofessional.
Well, there was something you said the other time, Captain, about AMCON, that the federal government overtly or covertly has 3 airlines that they've taken over due to one reason or the other through AMCON. There are those who would argue that these institutions are still individuals on their own, individual institutions on their own. What would be the propensity then for the federal government to take them over when the circumstances, what are the processes perhaps that should be the question? Do you think the federal government could consider, in order to take over those airlines, merge them into one as you are suggesting, as opposed to starting an airline, a new airline from the ground?
Okay, first, the federal government through AMCON have taken, as I said, ARIC, they have a substantial interest, no shares, substantial interest. They have appointed a receiver manager through AMCON. Aero contractors, on the other hand, they have 60% through AMCON, shares, and they are creditors also. In ARIC, they are creditors. They are secured creditors, so you have to understand secured creditors. So that means there are assets that have been pledged by those airlines. Then AMCON created another airline to move its assets to this new airline called NG Eagle. Now, these are the 3 airlines that I was trying to explain that government had through AMCON. The federal government of Nigeria through AMCON had substantial interest in 3 of these airlines. And if you look at ARIC and you look at Aero, you can see that in ARIC, yes, they don't have shares, but in Aero, they have 60%. But they have a lot of assets. And these companies are owned by individuals, as you said. These individuals are Nigerians. So why don't you call them? We want to start a carrier. We owned these assets in your company. We owned 60% of your company. We want to convert this. Not that the legacy shareholders would not have a stake in the new national carrier or in the one that I'm proposing. Not that they wouldn't have, but they will have a stake. But you now do debt equity swap, which means that if I know that I'm supposed to take 200 billion from ARIC, let's say, or 10 billion, or whatever the figure is, I'm going to convert it into equity. And I have that.
So this is the business end then, Captain, my apologies. This is the business end then. Would you then say that this new consideration, this Nigeria Air so far gone, would you then say one way or the other that it's kind of wasteful for the federal government to be going in that route as opposed to consolidating the investments they already made?
No, that was my argument in the beginning. I said the argument I was making was that we should have considered that, but we have passed that stage now. We are in the stage of, of course, an aircraft is already on ground, or 2 are already on ground. Nigeria Air has gone far. So my argument is that we should have done that, and I believe AON probably thought too we should have done that, and I still believe that we should have done that. There are 3 aircrafts that are still lying down, belonging to NG Eagle that time in 2020, between 2019 and between 2018 all the way to 2022. And you can imagine the amount of money lost for those 3 aircraft sitting down because they could not, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority did not give NG Eagle the authority to fly, the certification to fly. We lost over 2 billion monthly because of that decision. And why was that decision? So that Nigeria Air probably can fly. And that's my argument in that direction. And I believe that Nigerians were so changed. I still believe that we should have given NG Eagle a chance to fly so that we could have probably merged the NG Eagle with the new national carrier. And the federal government would have gotten at least the assets that AMCON has in Aero, in ARIC, into this new NG Eagle, and of course, by extension to Nigeria Air. I still believe that that can be done. But you can imagine the kind of hardship flying public entered during the festive seasons when NG Eagle had 3 serviceable airplanes lying fallow. Those 3 airplanes could carry more than 450 passengers per trip. So you can imagine during the festive season when you see people stranded, no capacity for the airlines, while we have 3 airplanes lying down that in a day, they could, if they do 6 sectors, you can multiply 400 by 6. You can multiply the number of passengers that would have been at least assisted to go to their loved ones during the festive seasons.
Well, Captain Ado Sanusi, Managing Director and CEO of Aero Contractors, we do thank you for your time this morning.